Bonsoir, this is Piper Blush, and I was philosophically thinking of the differences between hot and cold countries. Because I'm from Quebec, Canada. Now, I do live in Vancouver, so Vancouver is a bit different. It's not as cold as Quebec. But I've been traveling in some countries, like Mexico, and like now Reunion Island, which are deemed, well, pretty hot countries. I've also been to Vietnam, Cambodia, Thailand, Hawaii, Malta, which was kind of hot when I went there because it was in the summertime. I mean, I've been to a few hot places, and the thing with hot places is that they have this hot vibe. People go there to kind of live the beach bum life. They go there to chill, to like surf, or if there's no surf, they go there to just kind of be relaxed. There's this like relaxed vibe. But when you think about New York, or you think about Montreal, or Toronto, or even Vancouver, you don't think about relax. You often hear like, oh, people are so like, stressed and rushed, and they need to go somewhere and be somewhere, and so they don't take the time to talk to you in the middle of the street or at the grocery shop like people do here. It seems like people here have all the time in the world. They just kind of stop, talk to you, take their time, they're in the present moment with you. Now, what I was thinking about is that what's the difference, and why is the difference there? Why are people here like they are, and why are people in, let's say, Canada or, well, New York or the Americas more on a like hyped up vibe? And even people I met here that I chatted with that are from France, because Reunion Island is kind of like a drum, so a domaine d'outre-mer, from France. So some French people from Paris or other, of course, like cities in France, they come and live here on Reunion Island to escape this kind of like really fast-paced life. They want to live like the chill island life, and they enjoy it. And then people from the island life, well, they want to go to Canada or to, Quebec, because it speaks French over there, or maybe even to France, because it's more like rapid, and they can go study there, and they can probably like make more business, do more money. Now, I don't have any conclusions yet, but we were talking, me and some people, and then it got me thinking that maybe it would be a good subject to ask the questions to you too. Why is that happening like that? Why did the human evolve that way? I'm not a scientist or a biologist, but every time I've been in a really warm country, I felt like my survival instincts just dies. And if you're like, what do you mean, Piper? You got survival instincts? Well, everybody has them, but seriously, when it's over 30 degrees Celsius outside, it's like, I should want to go hunt if I'm hungry, or I should want to go drink fresh water if I'm thirsty, or I should want to go into shade because it's too hot out. But no, you just kind of melt. I feel like the whole thing, my survival instinct is not there anymore. It dies out in the warm weather. And that's like my theory so far. Because when I was in Quebec or in Canada and it starts being cold out, you kind of rush to your car. And then you rush to the place you want to be at. And then if you're really cold, you're like, oh my god, I need to make a fire like right now. Or I need to like do these things right now. And there's kind of a rush to things because I feel like my actual survival instincts, it kicks in really fast. It makes me want to not die. But here, I don't get that. So is it the same for you? Do you feel like when you're too warm, you just feel like doing nothing? And like doing nothing? Until possibly like your survival instinct does not kick in and you just die doing nothing? Which is awful. But when it gets cold, and I don't know like how cold, but when it gets really cold, at one point, you get up, you get a blanket, you get things, you just like want to do something with your life, because you want to live. And I'm not saying people don't want to live here. I'm just saying how I feel here when it's too hot. I just feel like doing nothing. I feel like a lazy person. And I feel, well, like a lazy person maybe in Canada too. When sometimes, there is like, yeah, it's the tropics. You hear the dog? A lot of dogs here. When maybe there's a snowstorm, you're like, oh yeah, snow day, and then you don't want to go out. But you don't necessarily feel like, bleh, like that. And then, well, I don't have that many theories, but I think this is where like all of the thinking I've been doing while I was sitting here, it leads me. It leads me to like this survival instinct thing. So, of course, there's a few other things. Maybe like the weather is one of them for sure. Like being really hot or really cold, that just change a lot of things. And then, well, geographically, where you are. I guess if you're on a continent, there's just more people. So there's more things to do and accessibility to other people and other, I guess, other things. Like let's say, I don't know, I'm a YouTuber and I need a camera. Well, if I'm on an island, it might be a bit more difficult for me to get that camera. Because accessibility is a bit more difficult. Things have to be flown in or, well, boated in compared to on the mainland where things are usually not necessarily fabricated there, but there's like more of a logistics that just brings them out there because that's where the people are. But if you're on an island and it's not fabricated there, it needs to be a really big island. Like, I guess from my time in Hawaii when I was in Oahu, Waikiki, Honolulu, and I spent a little bit of time in Makaha, well, there was a Best Buy. There was accessibility, even though it's an island in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. But it belongs to the United States of America. So of course, they made it so it was accessible. There's high-speed internet. You could have like anything you wanted, really. Amazon Prime is like available in Hawaii. Here, it's a whole different vibe. I haven't been much in the Caribbean except for like Cuba and then Mexico on the East Coast and the West Coast a little bit, but it's very different. Accessibility to things is a little bit different. So maybe if you want something and you're like, well, I really want that thing, but it's gonna take a month to get here, plus I'm gonna have to pay all this like surplus money, or maybe you just decide you don't want that thing anymore. So like this hope and this other thing, that's the police on the other side. I don't know, they're looking for somebody. So it's not me because I'm on this side and I didn't do anything weird. So the thing is, all of this accessibility and all of these things that I guess you want to do, maybe because it's so far away, it feels like unreachable, well, you just kind of do them differently. You do this island life. You do it on a complete other level. But for me, being here is more like, I guess, a vacation. It's like experiencing it from a tourist point of view. And all the other places I've been to was more like a tourist point of view. When you're a local, you must have a completely different like mindset and viewpoint. And that's why I want your comments and your feedback. Because you know what they say, anthropologues or sociologues. Well, okay, I only know these words in French. But an anthropologist, yeah, I think that's the word, anthropologist, somebody who studies cultures and societies, or a sociologist, that word. Well, they can't study their own. Why? Because they're biased. So when you go somewhere else as a, well, tourist, or as somebody who doesn't know, that's how you see it from afar, objectively. Of course you're gonna be like, it's gonna be tinted by your own, well, values and religions and all these other things. But still, why do I am a different person here than I am in Canada? And do I want to be this type of person? Or do I want to be a more Canadian person? Or do I want to be a Hawaii person? And I think for some people, it's really nice because they have the possibility to choose where they're going to live. And so you can choose the type of person you want to be. So maybe you were born in the United States of America, and maybe you were born in France, and maybe you were born on Reunion Island, or maybe you were born in Mexico, but that doesn't mean it's like your vibe or your type of people. That just means that's where you were born. So, I'm asking you, do you think that like hotness kills the survival instinct? Or do you think it doesn't? Leave me a comment. Tell me all about it. Let's have a little bit of philosophy on this channel. Yeah. Okay, I'm Piper Blush and well, that's it for now.